welcome to Drew Code Sports Talk. I am your host, Andrew Wright, and this lovely man over here is my co-host, Cody Johnson.
Man, it's been a while. How you been?
I'm good, man. I'm excited.
I am too.
It's been 2 weeks. I have so much to talk about. My wife has been so mad at me because all I've been looking at and watching is sports. And she's like, oh my God, you need to go to Drew Code Sports Talk again. So we apologize for missing last week. It was Easter, so we're kind of going to take a break.
Everyone needs some break every now and again.
So. Okay, this segment we're going to be talking about baseball, and we missed opening week. We are now about 2.5 weeks into the season. Mm-hmm. We kind of see what teams are starting to look like, what issues all these teams have. Mm-hmm. But what's most important is fantasy baseball, where you and I are ahead in our league. We're both 2-0 already.
Didn't see that one coming, folks. I gotta be honest with you guys.
Just dominating the league right now. And then I hope the whole league is watching. Just remember, we're dominating right now. Anyway, there's a few teams I wanted to get to. Mm-hmm. I'm going to list off the teams, okay, and then we can just talk about kind of what we like. The biggest surprises for me, like surprises in a good way, Rockies, Diamondbacks, and the Reds.
Yeah.
Those three teams have been really good. The Rockies are 10-6. The Diamondbacks are 10-6. That's not including today, which is Thursday. So just letting you know. And also the Reds are 9-6. So okay. I didn't see the Reds doing as well as they're doing. Okay. I definitely didn't see the Diamondbacks doing this.
Right.
And I definitely did not see the Rockies doing this, and we'll kind of get into it a little bit more. Right. Sorry, there's a fly. But the surprises that I have that are bad are the Giants, unfortunately. Yeah. The Cardinals, the terrible Blue Jays.
Yeah, how sad is that?
The Indians, and the Mariners.
Yeah.
Cody, why don't you tell us what your biggest surprise is on whether it was good or bad?
Okay, so as far as the team that's surprising me in a good way, I'd have to say it's the Diamondbacks. I mean, you and I watched them on the opening day when they played against the Giants. I think it was on the 2nd. And they looked really good. I mean, they actually came back, and Bumgarner had them dead to rights in a sense. And then, you bring in the closer, and he just couldn't close it, unfortunately. Gave up 3 runs towards the end of the game, which kind of blew it for the Giants and kind of set their season off to the rough start it is now with the whole aspect of, they're tied for the most opportunities in saves with 11, but yet they've only been able to have four games saved when the closer comes in. So it's kind of, you're giving up 7 essentially close games right there, which is unfortunate for the Giants, which is probably why they're suffering right now. But anyways, back to the Diamondbacks. I just think that their pitching is actually kind of coming into form. They're not the greatest, but they're at least getting it done. I think they've got a deep rotation, and they've got some decent bullpen players, and hopefully they can keep up this momentum, because then that'll be a really interesting challenge in the NL West, especially with the Dodgers that are kind of underachieving at this point. You kind of thought, and a lot of analysts expected them to kind of be the rivals to the Cubs, and right now they're actually like second to last in front of the Giants, unfortunately. But I got to be honest, the Diamondbacks are looking pretty scary, and we'll see, because most teams that do really well after towards the All-Star break, which is months away, usually at the second half is where you see how good the team is. And so we'll really see how good they are come that time. But right now, it's kind of interesting. They were pretty terrible last season, and now they're turning it around really quickly, and I'm actually really surprised for them, and it's actually really good for baseball, because you never thought they would be this good right now. I mean, they're 10-6 right now, and this can easily go a lot higher. And considering that they're basically the top team in the NL West, so who knows? Unfortunately for me, as we're homers, the Giants is the most surprising as far as the underachieving team. And it's not because they're a terrible team; they just have the same problems from last season. Yeah. They haven't really fixed them. I mean, we were talking about it in our videos of, who would you want, Stanton or Nunez? And you said you wanted Stanton. I said I didn't want Nunez, that's for sure. But be woeful of him. And sure enough, he started off great, and he's kind of trailing off a little bit. Giants pitching is still good with Cueto, and you've got Bumgarner still leading the pack. but you've got the closing, which is what they had a hard time with towards the end of last season. And then they're hitting, they don't have power hitters like they used to. They got good people to get on base, but no one to really hit that home run ball, which is what the Giants have been known for a lot of years. So that's probably the team, and that's coming from a bunch of homers here that are, that's probably the team that's the most underachieving that we're surprised at, considering that we have this whole offseason to fix it. And it's still not really fixed, but a lot of baseball to go. It's just you never want to see this early for a bunch of baseball fans. But it's a patience game, so we'll just play it out, and hopefully we'll turn it around. So.
The key thing you said there is it's a long season, okay? We're into 16 games, okay? There's 162 regular season games. 16 games doesn't really mean much. So this is almost like an overreaction type thing. But the team that I'm really worried about right now, and I'll get to kind of what you were talking about later on. The team I'm worried about is the Blue Jays.
Okay.
And it's not necessarily actually, my boss actually asked me. He goes, "What's wrong with the Blue Jays?" And I go, "Well, they got 2 or 3 pitchers who are out, starting pitchers, which that already hurts. And I have one of them, Sanchez, who kept getting a blister on his finger. He's actually getting that part of his finger removed.
Wow.
And he's going to be back, like they said, maybe next week earliest.
Just put some pine tar on it, got that curveball back at you.
So I mean that's serious. Josh Donaldson's on the 10-day DL. I mean you lost Edwin Encarnacion to the Indians. Jose Bautista is older and isn't hitting any better. Troy Tulowitzki is the same as Jose Bautista. He's older and he's not hitting any better, and he left Coors Field that was really upping his stats.
Right.
To me, Troy Tulowitzki, I never liked him. I never thought he was as good as what they were saying.
Yeah.
Because where he played was Coors Field. It's kind of hard to say, oh yeah, I was right, because look at what he's doing now.
Right.
You can't really make that comparison because he was a lot younger then.
Yeah.
I just, probably because I was a Giants fan, I didn't really like him. No, I just never thought he was as good as what they always said he was. He's a decent player. I mean, if the Giants didn't have Brandon Crawford and we needed a shortstop, yeah, of course I'd take Tulowitzki. But having said all that, the Blue Jays, they scared me. Because even when you get Josh Donaldson back, even when you have Sanchez back, who is supposed to be pitching well, but we'll see. We really don't know with him. Stroman is their only pitcher who's been doing really well. He had a bad outing last game, or his last start, which I'm not too concerned about. Every pitcher has it. I'm not gonna freak out over him giving. I think he gave it like 5 or 6 runs. But it was just the Blue Jays. They to me are the biggest surprise. I felt like with Edwin Encarnacion gone, it would actually help them because now you get some young guys going in. It's hurt them big time. Man, the Blue Jays are 3-12.
Yeah. Well, another thing too is they're ranked 27th in the league right now in ERAs given up. That's almost 5. It's 4.76 right now, which is a lot considering Stroman right now had a bad outing, but once he gets dialed in, he's about a 3, like a low 3, maybe even a sub 3 if he has some really good games that he puts together, which he's very capable of doing, as we've seen in the World Baseball Classic. He's very good at putting games together. But as a team, though, it's their bullpen and it's their rotation. I mean, he's not the reason why their ERA is so high. It's the collective pitchers. There's a reason why you're 3-12. And not only that, but their batting average as a team is ranked 24th at only 220, average. So that's pretty low for a team that was known for hitting, especially Jose Bautista, which was averaging about 40 to 45 home runs for a good 3-year stretch. And then, you added in Tulowitzki, and then you had Donaldson, who's now out. Those are supposedly on your team the 3 best hitters, and as a team, you're only doing 220.
And that goes to show you what happens when you get Toronto. Listen, so this is what happens when you go after all these power hitters. This is what happens. The game has changed. Barry Bonds used to hit, 300. I don't want to hear the whole steroid thing. We all know. We got it. But Barry Bonds used to hit 300, and he would still hit over 40 home runs.
Right.
Okay? That was an incredible player. There's a guy in Arizona, Paul Goldschmidt. he does the same thing. The guy can hit over 25 home runs. Mike Trout is that kind of guy. Okay, those are the best of the best. But when you talk about guys who are just swing for power, like they have with an Edwin Encarnacion, like they have with a Jose Bautista, Troy Tulowitzki, that's really, he didn't hit for 300 a ton in his whole career. I think he did it maybe 3 times in his career.
And that was at a hitter's friendly park too.
Exactly. These guys are not hitting for average. They've gotten this team as a power hitting team, which helps if you need a 3-run home run right away.
Right.
But when you're not hitting, your confidence goes down, and so you're looking for any pitch in the strike zone. So you're swinging at a ton, and you're grounding out, you're flying out, you're striking out more than you're scoring runs. And with that 220 average, it's terrible. That's not where you want your team to be at all. As a team, you're doing good if you're hitting 250 as a team collectively. If you're a good team, you're hitting 260, and if you're a great team, you're obviously over 260.
Well, let me tell you this then. Diamondbacks are right now 5th overall in the majors by hitting 262 as an average.
Exactly.
So you can see the contrast here. You got the Diamondbacks, which are surprising everybody. Maybe it's not necessarily the pitching. It's not scaring people. It's not stacked up to really knock you all down. But their hitting is what's getting them through. If their pitching is just going to get them afloat, their hitting is definitely getting them to where they need to be, to where they're sitting at top NL West. Granted, it's 2.5 weeks. Ton of baseball left to go, but still though, I mean, it's a good sign for them, and Blue Jays need to turn this around. You don't want to get like 20 games back, because you're almost going to work yourself to death just getting the playoffs, have nothing left, and then you're out very quickly. And as far as, I think that the AL East, the division that they're in, is also with Boston and the Yankees, right? So you better hope that Boston doesn't get hot too quickly, and Yankees right now are turning it up. They're starting to look like the Bombers of old, with a young team. So,
and I would make a case for the Tampa Bay Rays. They're actually hitting really well. I mean, they're not a scary team. They're not going to win the division. I don't even see them getting into the wild card.
No.
But you have a New York Yankees team who's overachieving. You have a Tampa Bay Rays team that's overachieving. You have the Boston Red Sox, who right now, in my opinion, is the favorite to win the AL East. And then you have the Baltimore Orioles, who they're underachieving right now, but they're going to slowly creep up there, I'm telling you. And then you have the Toronto Blue Jays. That is a tough division. And if you start off 3-12, it's going to be hard to make up that difference that you have. It's going to be very tough for the Blue Jays. They're really the team that I'm most worried about. Now, you said that the Giants for you.
Yeah, and I think it's because I don't see any... in a team where every other year it seems like is when they go after the championship, and granted it's not an even year, but still though, we've got a team that has a ton of playoff experience for as young as they are, especially with Bumgarner, only 27 years old, and he already has, 2 World Series rings under his belt, and he's been to the playoffs almost every year since he's been in the league. So, in my opinion, I would have been okay had I seen the batting average, and what I mean by like power hitting, because I don't think that they're missing they're missing that big threat. Like they've got people that can get on base and whatever, but getting on base only does so much. You don't have anybody that can actually be a threat and make pitchers have to worry, pitch around them to where it gets the on base guys to start making things happen. Now you've got guys that essentially go on a hot streak, and it's just kind of scary, because if you get, Nunez right now, he can be hot at one point, but then go ice cold in a longer stretch than being hot. You need someone in the middle of that, and, Posey's average isn't really like where it used to be when he won the NL title. It's not the 300s anymore, it's like 250s maybe. And you need more than that. You need a really good home run hitter to be right in the middle of that, in my opinion. And the pitching is what worries me the most too, because they've been known for being a great bullpen throughout the season. And right now the bullpen is surprisingly giving up games that they usually close out.
My issue with the Giants is not. It is the bullpen, but it's not the closer. It's not Mark Melancon. And I know a lot of people saw the opening day how he gave it up. Listen, Mark Melancon has never been the go out there in the 9th inning and strike out all 3 guys in a row. He's never been that guy. He never had that type of stuff. I'm going to go back to who the Giants had last 2-3 years. Sergio Romo got the closing job. Now, when he was the setup guy, what his pitch was the slider. And no one had really seen a slider cut that much before or used that much. He was so effective with it, he knew when to throw it, and he was perfect. Now, when you go into the next year, he became the closer. And the issue with that is he's going out there more and more and more, and more people are seeing what he does and how he does it and how he throws when he throws it. So these guys are learning. So they figure out, okay, this slider's coming, I'm not going after this big. So he started walking more, he started getting hit more because he was going over the plate. So then what the Giants decided, okay, well, we'll use Santiago Casilla, who is their other setup guy. Santiago Casilla was the guy who could throw, 95 plus on the radar gun, and just he had an effective curveball when he used it, and he had a really good changeup. Every now and then that he rarely used the changeup.
Yeah.
But so Santiago Casilla was a complete 360 180.
360 would be
right back. 180 compared to Sergio Romo. And Santiago Casilla, all he did was he was a 50-50 pitcher. And what I mean by that is sometimes he would do great and sometimes he would do bad, and you never knew when it was going to come.
Yeah.
And so the Giants were like, we need a guy who knows how to close, who's closed for a while, and a guy who will use his pitches well effectively for what kind of defense we have. And Mark Melancon has always been a ground ball guy. He's not a, throw him out, strike him out type guy. He's not that kind of guy. He's a ground ball inducer. And what that means is he's going to stay low at the knees in the strike zone. He's going to make you chase a few pitches. So he might get a few strikeouts, but majority of the time he's going to hit. And when you ground, where do the ground balls mostly go?
Usually shortstop.
To the shortstop. Shortstop and second base. Who do you have shortstop and second base in San Francisco?
Nunez, and I think it was Crawford, wasn't it?
Well, it's Crawford and Panic.
Okay.
Nunez is at third.
Third now.
So now your middle infielders are Gold Glove winners. So when you have an effective closer who's going to get ground balls induced, most of the time it's going to those two guys, and you can rely on them, and you're going to get outs. Melancon fits the Giants how they play defense. Brandon Belt is a decent first baseman. He has issues with digging out the ball every now and then. Nunez scares the living daylights out of me in third base.
Yeah.
I mean, there was this one pop-up, I was watching a game earlier this year, and he goes and he's like tripping everywhere, and I'm like, oh my god, dude, just watch the ball! Like, don't look where you're falling.
I think there was some talk that they wanted to also put him out in outfield, wasn't there?
Yeah, well, yeah, he's fast enough where he could. They won't because we have too many guys. But when Christian Arroyo, this is completely beside the point, by the way, sorry, but Christian Arroyo is the prospect that the Giants have in AAA right now, and he's the guy that possibly, if Nunez isn't doing so hot, he's going to be the guy who's going to take over third base. Because his original spot was shortstop, but when Brandon Crawford came into his own, they tried Arroyo out into third base because they want him there. So if Nunez doesn't do well, they might move him out in the outfield and have Arroyo play third base. But that's way down the road. So anyway, honestly, the Giants, to me, I'm not too concerned. It is their bullpen.
Yeah.
And what sucks is when Will Smith went down, that's what really hurt the bullpen. Because you have a guy like Derek Law, who I actually like, but he's another 50-50 guy. When his command is there, he's tough to hit. I mean, he's almost hit. Oh man, words are hard again. He's very tough to hit. You can't get a good pitch when his command is on point.
Right.
But there are a lot of times where his command is not there, and he gets crushed. Hunter Strickland is another guy. God, he's like gasoline on a fire. Hunter Strickland got this fastball that can go 98 miles an hour. Boch loves it because it's different from what his starters are. But with Hunter Strickland, his fastball is like this.
Yeah.
It doesn't move, and it's going straight at you.
Yeah.
And they're gonna crush it every time. And when you have division guys in your division, like the Diamondbacks, where you have Paul Goldschmidt and AJ Pollock and Jake Lamb, who can crush anything,
Right.
That's gonna hurt you. You have the Rockies, who have Cargo, Nolan Arenado,
Gonzalez.
Yeah, I mean Story, yeah, exactly. There's a ton of guys in Colorado that can crush it,
Especially in the hitter's park too, if you get in that situation. So
yeah, and then you have the Dodgers, who you have Yasiel Puig, who's actually
Coming
doing
in
pretty decently
Yeah.
this year. Adrian Gonzalez, who I do not like when Hunter Strickland pitches against him, because Adrian Gonzalez kills fastballs every time he kills them. That's a tough division to go against guys who can hit.
Yeah.
Now, it's helpful that you're in a ballpark, but what's bad about a 98 fastball that's going straight and it's not moving is you don't have to put a ton of muscle behind it, because the ball's already moving that fast enough for you.
Essentially, you just put your bat out there and the momentum takes
You
it.
just have to have a good swing and it'll go.
Yeah.
So I'm not too worried about the Giants, but they're going to have to do something with the bullpen. Their offense is built for average, not for power. So they're probably not going to go after a power guy, even though you're right. It would really help to have that bat.
Yeah.
We're not going to go after anyone. I'm sorry if you were hoping that the Giants, but believe me, I've begged for power hitters for
since Barry Bonds left.
Yeah, since Barry Bonds left, and we've never gotten it.
I would actually be more okay if they were to maybe go after, more of a set of guys or younger prospects in pitching more so than hitting. I wouldn't be opposed to that, because at the end of the day, most of the World Series that were won weren't off of hitting; it was off of pitching. So usually, when our pitching, our bullpen is is synced and is loaded, and when they're throwing it and no one is hitting it, or it's hitting into our Gold Glovers' hands, that's when we're winning. It's not necessarily the power, although it helps kind of mix things up a little bit. But honestly, whenever the trade deadline comes up for baseball, which is obviously months away, I would be more okay with pitching rather than hitting, because that's what that's what the Giants do really well, is their pitching. That's what that's staple is.
And the way that baseball has gone now, it used to be all about the starters, and you kind of had a closer, and your bullpen guys were if your starter was getting in trouble, basically.
Yeah.
The way it is now is basically if your starter gets 6+ innings, you had a good game.
Right.
Back then, it used to be you had 8 innings, and that was great.
If you didn't get a complete game, it was a waste of time.
So the way that baseball is now is you use your relief pitchers a lot. And when you have that and you don't have a very good bullpen, and like the Giants don't, you have to get to your closer. And I like Melancon, and I think Melancon, like I've said, does fit the Giants. But you have to get to him.
Right.
And that's their issue right now, is they cannot get to the 9th inning with the lead held or greater than when the starter left.
Yeah. So, but when the hitting comes around, though, because right now they're tied for 18th in the majors right now at a 233 average as a team. So I'm sure that'll go up, though, because they do have some infield hitters and move up, but it is still early in the season, like what we said. So, but anyways, we'll see too, because the Blue Jays may turn around, and who knows if the Diamondbacks stay this hot. So still early.
My biggest surprise, the team that I'm scared of right now, is the Colorado Rockies.
Yeah.
And it's exactly what we talked about. You have Trevor Story, you have Carlos Gonzalez, you have Nolan Arenado, you have Charlie Blackmon. I mean, those guys are already great hitters. They've already kind of proven themselves as it is. Their issue with the Rockies is their starting pitching. They have these pitchers who a lot of the time are 50-50 pitchers, and it doesn't help when you're in the field like Coors Field, where the ball just carries.
Right.
John Gray, for example, I really like that kid. If he was a Giants pitcher, he would actually fit the Giants better than the Rockies, because he gets the ball and play a lot. He doesn't strike out a ton of guys. He might get like 5 strikeouts a game, which is decent. I mean, it's not bad, but when you're in a Coors Field and you're letting the ball get in play, a lot of those are going to go out of the park.
Yeah.
And when you have that issue, the Rockies lose. When you're away from Coors Field, it seems like he wins more.
Right.
And so that's kind of the issue. They have a lot of those type of guys who are going to put the ball in play, and it's either really good or really bad.
Yeah.
But the Rockies lineup, it scares the crap out of me. I mean, Diamondbacks have a really good lineup. They have a lot of young guys. So I think it's going to take them another year, maybe 2, to actually be that type of scary. The Rockies have had this lineup for 2 years now. Well,
Yeah.
they've had Arenado and Cargo and Blackman for the last 3 years in that lineup. And now they added Trevor Story to it, which
And
is
they've
even
got
worse.
Gonzalez, who can hit basically almost anything too, you know.
So the Rockies, to me, are the biggest surprise. They're the scariest team. And like we kind of alluded to, the Dodgers have some issues right now. Kershaw looks like Kershaw. That's never been an issue this year so far.
I mean, he had one bad game, but
Rich Hill constantly getting blisters. That doesn't help him. Ryu does not look good. He's going to have to get something going.
yeah.
You know, the Dodgers have some things to go. McCarthy has been a really good surprise, though.
Yeah,
For the Dodgers.
yes.
Yeah.
And thank you for giving me the advice to pick him up. He did great for me last game.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm scared of the Rockies. I'm not really too worried about the Giants because it is a long season. I see how they could get back on track. The Blue Jays I'm very worried about, though. Even if you added Josh Donaldson, this team is still not doing very well.
Yeah.
And you got to get your starting pitching going.
Yeah,
So to me, Blue Jays biggest disappointment.
for sure.
Well, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It is Drew Code Sports Talk. Thank you.